Welcome to Only Ghosts in the Building. This is your host, Emily Claire.
And Karen Lynn.
And we're here with members of Interstate Paranormal Research.
I'm Tony.
I'm Ray.
I'm Amber.
I'd like each of you to introduce yourselves and tell a little bit about your background, how you got started, what kind of paranormal activities you've had in the past, and, did something come up and hit you in the head? Did you have a normal life before this?
Define normal.
Yeah, define normal.
And
There's
maybe
nothing
what
normal.
your real jobs or daytime jobs. Ray, do you want to start?
So my fascination with the paranormal started at a very young age. Growing up in my grandparents' house, I experienced a lot of things living there. Everybody else in the family had never experienced anything. It was just me and my uncle that experienced things there. So that's what really brought my fascination with the paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
And now everywhere I live, I just experience stuff. Not really sure why, but it's just something I go through.
So you're kind of a conduit.
Maybe a little beacon.
Maybe.
So how old were you when you had your first experience?
Say about 4 or 5.
Yeah, and what happened?
I used to have a lot of dreams, a lot of nightmares, a lot of the same repeating dreams. For some reason, I don't know why. The most fascinating thing I can remember is downstairs. I was riding my big wheeler around the house because you go to a big circle. And I stopped at the stairs because I heard a man talking upstairs. I was like, The whole family's over, but everybody's downstairs. It's dark upstairs. Who was this man? And all of a sudden, he got really loud and started yelling, and it just scared me, and I just ran away after that.
This is The Shining.
Your big wheel.
Did you have that carpet?
Moment of it.
Right from.
And did you see twins?
I did not.
Come and play with us.
So,
Oh, that's awesome.
So what do you do other than investigate the paranormal with Interstate? Do you have a daytime job? Or
I do have a daytime job. I work for a company called TechSolve. We are a safety company, and we also do a lot of confined space rescues in different power plants, refineries, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I run the warehouse, so I'm in charge of all of our rental equipment, take care of a lot of customer orders and things like that.
Cool.
And when did you join Interstate?
I joined in September of last year, so
Last
September
year. So you've
2023.
been kind of not quite a year, right?
Not yet.
Okay.
And you guys joined together, right?
We did not.
No?
You didn't?
Wait, you met through this?
No, we've been together 11 years.
Oh, okay.
No,
So-
but he did join I did join separately than him.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I was actually very kind of turned off a little bit I knew I've had things happen because I live with him, obviously. So when things happen, I even have things happen when he's not home.
Yeah.
Sometimes for his job he'll travel, and so I'll be home by myself with just with our dog, and I had one time on his side of the bed there was a flashlight and it was on when I woke up, and it was not. I swear to you, it was not on when I went to bed.
Yeah.
So it was just so strange, and I'm like, what the heck,
So you kind of fell into the paranormal
Yeah,
through Ray.
so I went to
Sorry, let's
Oh, okay.
before you go into the
Okay,
story, because nobody knows who you are yet.
Yeah, introduce yourself.
Yeah.
so my name is Amber. I'm married to Ray, the one that was just talking, and I work for Amazon outside of investigating. And what kind of drew me was the team itself, and I'm not just saying that. So I went to a vendor thing where they were a vendor there, and it was actually our anniversary weekend, so I kind of just wanted to go just to spend time with him. And so I went, and I met everybody, and they were like, you're gonna join the team, and I'm like, no, I don't think so.
And when was this? What year?
It was last year. It was
Last
last
year, too.
October, so it was right, not too far after.
Okay.
And they're really great people. They really are. I'm not just saying that. I was not paid to say that. Clearly, because I still have a daytime job, right? And then they were talking about Friendsgiving, which is in November. They do that at My Haunted Manor, which we'll talk about later. So they kind of were like, you should come. just kept saying, I know you're going to join the team. Like, when are you going to join the team? And they would ask him, like, when he first joined, obviously the month before or whatever it was, like, asking, like, when I was going to join the team. So I went, I kind of made a deal with him. I'm a big time, like, I'm into, like, collecting cups and buying cups and stuff. So I was like, if you buy me a cup, I'll come to Friendsgiving. And so he shook on it. And so then I went to Friendsgiving, and I had a good time. Like, my Haunted Manor is a really cool place. And I had a really good time with the team and just getting to learn the history of the place,
And did you get your cup?
I did. I sure did.
All right.
I sure did. Yes, I did. Was sure on that. I shook on that.
Did you have paranormal experience before you met Ray, or
well,
was
yeah,
he your first
sort of, kind
introduction to it?
Sort of, kind of.
Okay.
Like I said, with the flashlight thing, we've had things like kind of fall or move.
But not when growing up, not when you were young.
No.
Nothing at all until you met Ray.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was all Ray's fault.
She was a non-believer when I met her.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then the flashlight thing changed your mind. Yeah.
And it was really interesting because she was no, I'm not joining the team. I'm not coming out. You can't get me into a haunted place. And now we can't get rid of her.
So now it's your turn to introduce yourself.
So I'm Tony. I am the founder of Interstate Paranormal Research, and I've been doing paranormal for about 18 years. I do have a day job. So by day, I treat people's wounds and take them to the hospital as a paramedic. And by night, I hunt ghosts and try to solve problems based on the evidence that we capture. My story began, actually, we all know Daryl Marston from Ghost Hunters and part of My Haunted Manor. He's a really good friend of mine.
How did you meet him?
So it's funny. I actually knew his wife before I actually
Melanie.
met him. Yeah,
Yeah.
Melanie. And we're Facebook friends and, knew, through mutual friends. Like, I knew her first. And funny story is I saw her at a convention without him. And I was like, oh, I wanted, to catch up and, like, meet your husband. And she's like, oh, he's working. I knew he had a side business.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, he was filming for Ghost Hunters. I didn't even know.
So she didn't tell you at the time
because she
couldn't.
couldn't.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how we met. But interesting enough is where he had his first paranormal experience is where I had my first paranormal experience at 12 years old. So when he talks of Fort Delaware, that's exactly where I had my experience, and that's where I got the paranormal bug.
Yeah.
Field trip from school, we were led different direction by what we thought was a character or an employee volunteer that was dressed up in period garb. We were led up a stairwell to what ultimately was a cannon battery. And I was towards the back of the line. We get up to the cannon battery. There's about 8 or 9 of us. And this person that was dressed up in Civil War garb was gone.
How many were there of you that was led up there?
About 9 of us
9?
from our group.
And they all saw that.
And yep, we all just followed this person. We get to the cannon battery and there's just us
9.
kids.
That's crazy.
And we were all like, where'd that guy go? And there was no way that they could have went down a secondary stairwell and they didn't jump over the wall 40 feet down into a boat.
Yeah.
And then we all beelined it out to go to the other group and we were like,
We didn't just do that.
yeah, like where'd that guy go? They were like, what guy? And they were like,
How old were you?
12.
12.
There was only females there.
Bonkers.
There was no guy that day.
Huh.
So that's kind of like where the bug bit me.
Yeah.
And throughout the years, it was always an interest. Interest turned into a hobby, turned into did things by myself. Had a girlfriend at the time that was interested in it. We hung out at Fort Mifflin with a pocket recorder, had a couple experiences into, I finally found some of my family members that I haven't known for 30 plus years. Mm-hmm. She was on a team in New Jersey. So I kind of joined the team. Sadly, I'm no longer part of that for personal reasons. Moved on and said, you know what? I'm going to start my own team. Started a smaller team with a couple, friends of mine and a couple acquaintances. Lo and behold, some of the people from that former team reached out because they had a smaller team. We merged That's where Interstate Paranormal came together.
Awesome.
So 2018, that's where we started, and here we are today.
And that's New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware.
And Maryland.
And
we
Maryland.
cover all 4 states.
So Maryland as well.
Yep, we'll travel.
Okay.
We go all over.
We'll travel for ghosts.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm making that T-shirt.
Yeah, that sounds good.
There you go.
That's a good one.
That's my T-shirt, not yours. You're not allowed to have it.
Just
She
stole
came
our
up
merch
with it.
idea.
No, she came up with it.
So that's kind of like how we are.
And how many members do you have on your team now?
Right now, 14.
And you are looking for more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We are in the process of evaluating 3 new team members, which they were all at our investigation last night. Stephanie is one of them.
Stephanie.
Zach was also at the grand opening,
Yeah.
and Jeff was not there, but he's coming on, and he was
Cool.
pretty cool last night.
Yeah, he was really nice. He was mainly in my group, so I really got to experience like things, and it was cool.
Yeah.
We're family.
Now, do you ever turn people away and say,
Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
you're not part of this team?
We have that one rule that is
Yeah.
no drama.
Yeah.
We do not do drama. So the minute you cause drama, there's a problem.
Yeah.
It kind of started off, and to be brutally honest, is all right. You're interested, come out with us. Your mom, all right, come out with us too. All right, your brother, come out. Oh, your brother's friend Bob, come out. Then it was like we noticed there were some issues, and it was like we kind of have to, weed out or come up with, we have bylaws on this team.
Yeah.
So you kind of have some rules and regs to kind of, follow to keep, the minions in check, as we joke around. But we're one big happy family. I strive on that.
Yeah.
That's what I look for. So we have an interview process.
Yeah.
It's very simple. If you're interested, send me an email. Guess what? That's test number 1.
And you have your web page that they could go on and
Yep,
and
absolutely.
contact you through that.
Yep.
So that is on, and you're on Facebook as well.
Facebook. We have a YouTube channel. We have TikTok,
Instagram.
and a website.
All of the social
All
medias.
Interstate Paranormal Research and all your hashtags for all the social medias.
Yep.
And .com is our website. We had a weeding out process. If I say to you, if you're interested in joining a team, please send us an email at interstateparanormalresearch@gmail.com.
Yep.
That's step number 1.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't follow step number 1. So if you can't send an email, we're weeding you out right there. Once the email comes in, we have a letter that I send out. It explains a little bit of our expectations, what we do. We're not your weekend warrior, fly-by-night hobbyist. We travel. There's cost. There's team purchases, team events. It's a lot of required time.
So are you a nonprofit?
Yeah. Well, we're not labeled as a nonprofit or profit. We're just Interstate Paranormal. We
Okay.
don't have an LLC. We don't have a tax designation.
Do you think that do you see any problems with not being kind of incorporated or?
It all depends on what avenue you're going down. I don't necessarily see any problems because you're not tied one way or the other. You're not guided by any kind of tax guidelines if you're for profit and filing, tax paperwork. And if you do have a non-for-profit LLC, and let's say we hold a public event, and we strive to put money back into historic locations for renovations or any kind of their costs. But throughout the years, people have said, we don't want your money if you hold an event here, once or twice. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
But like if we make $400 from an event, it goes into the team bank account.
Yeah.
So if we were labeled as a profit, we'd have tax stuff to worry about, or an LLC, we couldn't take money. So not having a label and just kind of splitting it down the middle, there's really no, we're not answering to one entity versus another.
So do you also investigate private homes or do you stay with?
So we do residential cases. We have done residential cases. They're few and far between. Not a lot of people want, the fame or the notoriety that their house is haunted, but they do have questions. We have a privacy agreement that we have all clients, sign, stating that we won't, if they want to keep their privacy, we keep their privacy. We don't divulge their addresses. We don't divulge their names. Anything that we capture there is basically private. We don't come out and say we captured this or we did this to give any kind of inclination to them.
And you don't put it on the website?
Nope.
No.
We will say undisclosed location in Wilmington, Delaware.
Okay.
That way we know we investigated in Wilmington, but Wilmington has 6 zip codes. You
Yeah.
don't know where it is.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't show pictures, of the house. We don't show
Right.
inside or out, because you may not know the person, but you may know them by the fact that their mantle has a certain picture on it. So we don't
Yeah.
divulge that.
Okay.
Do your team members have different skill sets? Do you look for?
So it's funny you ask that, because when we move from the letter that I send out for some of our expectations is a questionnaire. So you answer the questionnaire, then you come on and we have a video chat with you and we go over the questionnaire. And one of the questions is, what is an asset that you can bring to Interstate Paranormal? We are always looking for somebody that does YouTube or video editing, because that is a major road to go down.
Don't make me do another job. I already have enough on my plate.
She's self-taught. She's amazing.
And to be brutally honest, I have heard that through some very important friends in the paranormal community that do really kick-ass video editing. Jeff Bader, Trey Bader, you guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Self-taught.
Yeah.
You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Well, I think on that part, and I would like to stress this, is that just do it. Just, if you have an interest in it, do it. Watch some YouTube videos, fail until you don't fail anymore. That's how I did this podcast. That's how I got into this. So just get out there and do it if you like it. And, jump on a team.
Justin Brown from Interface Death out in Ohio. That man is amazing. Self-taught.
Yeah.
Some of the videos that they put out are better than production from A&E. Great guy, great mentor that I look up to wholeheartedly, self-taught.
Yeah.
So we look for people, we interview people, what can you bring to the team? So going over some of the team members, we have video skills, with Brian, Brian Hansen.
Yeah.
You met him. He's one of the cameramen from our team.
Yeah.
He's also our tinkerer, our 3D printer, our merch
that's
guy.
the tinker. Okay.
So he
Cool.
brings multifaceted stuff.
Yeah.
We have another teammate, Cindy. She's kind of like my business administrator. Like, she handles a lot of stuff with like Google Calendar, some finances behind the scene. Like, that's my right hand, lady. You met,
Yeah.
Mother Teresa
Mother
herself.
Teresa, yeah.
So she does a great job for us in helping keep, the team, in check. So yes, we look for different people to have skill sets. Brett and Jess, they're our Pittsburgh connection. They own their own photography business, so we have professional photographers on the team.
Yeah, that's
Everybody's an investigator, so that's a skill set that we look for too. We like experienced people, but we'll also take inexperienced people and train them to get them, going.
Yeah.
Because you got to start somewhere.
You do, and I'm interested in hearing about your training process.
Sure.
What do you do to have someone trained until you feel like they're up to speed and can?
So the paranormal community is really tough. We're all business people. We're all humans. We're all come from different walks of life. There's different trainings. There's college session, con ed, on-the-job training for stuff outside the paranormal. The paranormal community really doesn't have a training cadre. So it's basically, as Amber was saying on the ride up, trial and error. You get onto a team or you do personal investigations yourself. It's what works, what doesn't work. And it's time or tenure doing that. On our team, we have a 90-day or 3 investigation training session that everybody has to go through, and we bring you out. Part of that process is, can you pay your own way to get into the investigation? That's a training thing. So we need to see that you're able to, carry your weight when it comes to paying your investigation. Once you're there, how do you mesh with the teammates that are there? Do you stand around, not interject, kind of hide in the corner, not offer to do help?
Right.
Those are the people we don't need.
Yeah.
We need people that are go-getters, that have a driving force to walk in. Amber, can I carry that for you? Ray, how do you set that up? That's the type of people and caliber people we're looking. There starts your on-the-job training. And then through your 90 days or your 3 investigations that you go on, ghost hunting really isn't that hard if you break it down to what you're
Right.
actually doing.
Because you're sitting around most of the time waiting for something to happen.
Right. Talking to something invisible
Yes.
in the dark, waiting for this to go
Waiting
off.
for the REM pod to light up.
Right. Or no, oh my goodness, I got to watch 10 hours of video or listen
yeah.
to 10 hours of audio.
That's the worst.
So
So-
that's your on-the-job
Yeah,
training.
so I'm going to jump ahead, I think, to talk about equipment a little bit.
Sure.
So what kind of equipment do you use primarily, and then what do
What's
you...
your favorite?
Yeah, what's your favorite stuff?
I think all three, right? You want to jump on that first and start talking,
Yeah.
and we'll come back.
So, one of my favorites, and one that's quickly become a team favorite, is a device that I picked up before I even joined the team from NCPD. It's the Paranormal, and it is now nicknamed Twinkle Twinkle because it's
Yeah.
the only song that we use on there.
Because
So
every
we heard
ghost
that, right?
knows the
Right.
Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorites.
And do they call it a music box? Is that...
It's
different than a
actually a
music
mix
box?
of a. It has 9 different selections of music.
Mhm.
So the music is used as triggers in different locations, but primarily just use it in kids' rooms for Twinkle Twinkle.
Okay.
But it is a mix of both a REM pod and an EMF detector, so
Okay.
you can actually enable both of those at the same time.
Okay. Well, so do all REM pods have like, I mean, you have your antenna and that's like a proximity meter, but then
Yep.
there's temperature and barometric pressure on some of them or all of them?
That would just be the EDI plus.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yes.
All right.
Talk about some equipment
Cool.
there, Amber.
Mine's favorite Twinkle Twinkle, so I can't really. It's literally because
Funny.
honestly, like I feel like I haven't done very many investigations, but so far the kids' room has been my favorite.
Yeah.
Like especially at my haunted manor, it's my favorite room. I could spend all night in that room.
Yeah.
You could just leave me in there by myself. I'd be okay.
Yeah.
So
I didn't get a chance to go in there. I mean, I went in there, but I
Yeah.
didn't do
So
anything in there.
cat box.
So book another night privately
Yeah.
We need
at
to talk,
myhauntedmanor.com and investigate the kids' room. You
Yes.
won't be disappointed.
Yeah.
And I have a brand new toy for the kids' room.
Oh.
What is it?
Oh.
Ooh.
Do tell.
Do
Yes,
tell.
drop it.
So I had ordered, it's a trigger object that is a dog. And it is a stuffed dog.
Aw.
It's a dachshund.
Like a boo buddy, but a
Yes.
doggy.
Yeah, it's a
It's a
dachshund.
wiener dog.
It's cute.
And we used it at Penhurst. And was
Oh.
getting some great interaction with that. So I'm looking forward to using it other places.
Yeah, that's cool. I love me a boo buddy. Yeah. Does it have? Is it just a proximity meter, or does it have the other stuff?
There's actually different parts of the body that you touch will actually interact a
Okay.
little differently.
Okay, that's cool.
So if you pat the head or do something, then if you play with the
Yeah.
tail.
Yeah.
And what is
Oh.
really cool, which we can cover later when we talk about Penhurst,
Uh-huh.
is that we had a direct interaction session with the dog in Candyland
That would
Yeah.
be
where we said
good. Yeah,
specifically,
yeah.
if you know where our dog is, it likes its ears scratched, and the section with the ears went off.
Nice.
Our dog likes its belly rub, which is
Yeah.
another section. Please rub its belly, and it went off.
That's
you-
so cool.
You can't like
No.
falsely,
Yeah.
create that. Like that's just not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's no explanation for that.
Yeah. I love a direct a question and answer on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, we can only afford cat balls, so that's what we use.
Well,
But,
I
but
mean-
listen, cat balls are very popular.
Like, who knew it would work?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
It's
how
weird.
much for a dozen of them? They were.
I think it was like $15 for
It was
15
cheap.
of them.
So
Yeah,
cat balls
Amazon.
are interesting, and we've had experiences with cat balls
Yeah.
going off. That,
So
When nothing
equipment.
else was going on.
yeah.
It was weird.
Equipment.
Yeah.
So there's tons of equipment out there. Different teams, have different stuff. What works for them, what doesn't work. You can go all the way back to the basic EMF meter. That's the plastic orange box with the little, clear cover that, Jason and Grant, first pulled
Yeah.
out. It's a dinosaur. Completely to Gary Galka, who is responsible for making the traditional REM pod. He made it what they called a vibe pod beforehand. I still have one. We used it last night in the basement of Strauss
cool.
Mansion, and it was going off. It tilts It has a tilt sensor, it has a vibe sensor, and it has an EMF sensor. And
neat.
it was going off last night. All the way up to the Ovilus 5, the various Ovuluses that are out there. We have a couple Ovilus 5s. We commonly refer to the dog, that's what we were talking about. K2s, rope lights, string lights, all the various equipment out there. My 3 favorite pieces of equipment is the person yourself, the investigator, what you bring to the table, your mind, your experience, your senses. That's the number 1 piece of equipment.
Exactly.
Number 2, EDI Plus. You cannot go wrong with an EDI Plus.
I looked it up and I was like, I can't find one to buy.
They're out of stock.
I know.
I will let you in a little secret.
Yes.
We're buying like 8 of them.
Okay.
So when they come back out, you may not be able to get them because we're going to buy 8 of them. So Centex, if you're hearing me, get on it. We need them.
We need them. That's
but-
like a hot thing right now.
Yeah. But Daryl Marston, his favorite piece of equipment is the EDI Plus. It's
Yeah.
5 pieces of equipment in one.
And one, so
Yeah.
the one that talks,
The Ovilus.
the Ovilus.
Yeah.
So what kind of Ovilus do you use? Because I've heard a couple different kinds.
Well, the
that have
Ovilus, I
voices.
think, is specific with the 2 little antennas and stuff. And then they have, like, other things, like spirit boxes.
Yeah.
Spirit boxes.
And things like that.
So I have that app on my phone.
You do
Is that like
Spirit
that?
Talker?
Spirit.
Which one did you get?
I don't remember.
See, is there anything that you don't like? Because there's stuff I don't like.
Apps you have to be extremely careful with.
Yes.
For the simple factor, it's an app
Yeah.
that's designed by, a
People.
person or a company.
Yes.
And it's geared towards one certain thing.
Yes.
There's tons out there. Some of them, without
Oh, Ghost Talker.
without mentioning-
Ghost Tube.
Ghost Tube. I've never used
I
that.
haven't caught anything on it.
But you just have to be careful. They're apps.
Yeah.
We do
And they're
ghost hunting tools.
They're
is
set to listen to you. They're set to experience what you're experiencing, and I don't know if that programming has it that it'll spit out what you want.
Ghost Hunter Tools is an app. It kind of works like an Obvious for your phone. It's not $500. It has kind of like a phonetic dictionary, and it does give direct responses. I've been in investigations where we've gotten direct answers. Prior to, like, one could say that it's an app on your phone senses who you talk to, their names, what their stuff are, and it pulls stuff out of, its phonetic dictionary land. I was privy to an investigation where this was the first time that it was used. We used it at Selma Mansion in Norristown, and we had an entity that not only told us where she was based on a noise that we heard, she told us that we pushed her because we felt an energy ball. So how is an app, when we're talking about feeling an energy ball of 3 or 4 feet of, a cold spot, turn that into you pushed me?
Yeah.
That can't happen.
Yeah.
And then
unless there's some kind of weird AI thing, but I don't think that's advanced enough yet.
Yes.
For that. Yeah.
Agreed. So when we say, if I pushed you, tell me your name.
And the name spits
And
out.
the name spits out Katie. And I said, now that you've introduced yourself, what's my name? And it says Anthony.
Yeah.
And that's my name across the app. So ever since that occurred, every time we go to Selma, this spirit touches and comes around and interacts with me
That's
at Selma.
interesting.
Many years we couldn't find out who Katie was because Katie is not her real
Yeah.
name.
It's a nickname.
Going back to 1814, one of the Porter kids, her name was Catherine, which Katie is short, and she died of yellow fever at 12.
Yeah.
A little bit of tidbit of history, and that's right
Yeah.
in Montgomery County records.
Right.
So that's who Katie is. So for that app to find out where she made a noise, that we pushed her, told me her name, and then told me mine, there's no way that app
Yeah.
would have known half of that information.
So that leads us into what we were kind of discussing before we got started on this, is it's important to do the history research and know the history of the places that you're going into, so that if names come up, when people come up, or things come up in different rooms, what what business was there, what did they do, how did they interact with the public, and then you can verify if you get stuff that comes up, names or kind of other information that may arise during your investigation. You can look back at that history and do a verification. And I know that's with Samuel Miller, that's a big thing that you did. But do you like to know the history before you go into
good
a place, or do you want to go in fresh and then learn the history
So
afterward?
Ray and I, we personally do not want to know the history.
Okay.
You know, being empaths, you know, Ray coming up as an empath, we don't like to know the history. It
Okay.
gives that one more validation point
When
that
you
when
come
I
out.
pull the name out, like last night at Strauss, when
Yeah.
I speak to an entity, I don't know the history. And when I'm giving a name or a situation or a piece of information, the guys that do know the history that are in the room, I'll say, I'm picking up on this, or I see this, or I was shown this. Does this make any sense? And then these guys that know the history will be like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Where did you get that from?
Yeah.
That's what I'm being told.
Yeah.
You know, I normally don't get names. Last night I got 2 really direct names that are 2 entities in the location.
Yeah.
So it just gives more validation.
And that's what I enjoyed about you guys when we came up to my haunted manor and the Samuel Miller. I didn't want to know. And so when we were spitting things at you as it was happening, you're like, all right. And then I'll tell you later. And that's how all that played out, guys.
Yeah, it did.
It was really cool.
So you're both intuitives. Are you also mediums, and is there a difference?
So, I mean, everybody has, you know, a level of intuition, you know, out there. I mean, think about it, you know, not even into paranormal. You know, you
Right.
sense this, you feel that, you know, you see this. I think it's, you know, subconsciously in our mind, and certain situations and certain environments allow you to tap into that. I'm kind of a hybrid. I see things, hear things, and I'm shown things. So that's clairessence, clairvoyant, you know, empath, like all wrapped up into one. So, you know, call me an enigma. I don't like putting it out there, you know, for, you know, people to bash people, or, you know, that's bullshit, or like we don't agree. How do you know what I see and what I feel? But when I constantly, and this is why I don't put it out there, I let actions speak volumes.
Yeah.
So when I'm able to pick up on something, and if I were to come into your home and talk about a dead uncle from 1910 and tell you that he was buried in socks with no shoes, you would know that because that's a family history. But I wouldn't know it because I'm not part of your family. So if I were to tell you that and you lose and you get hysterical, because how would me as a stranger know that your dead uncle was buried in socks? That's happened time and time and time again. So
Yeah. It's a second
it's a
part of
hybrid.
validation. That's what we were talking about with DSGI too, is having those two together to validate.
we talked earlier about each person having a skill set coming into the team. One of our team member, Brian's sister, Megan Hansen, she is our team historian. She's also my Haunted Manor's team historian now. So she's doing a lot of research.
Yeah.
She went to college for that. She's actually, you know, looking to go back to school to further her educational, like, historical research. Megan has found a lot of information, both for our team and for, you know, the show. So I don't like to know the history, but these guys get the history, and it's super cool that I'm able to pick up on something, or Ray's able to pick up on something that somebody could go flip to like page 4 of Megan's notes and be like, yep, there it is.
Yeah.
How did they know that?
And you also then would get a hit on a REM pod in that same area.
Once we were to use that information,
Yes.
like, hey,
Yeah.
Bob, if you're over there, use that.
So on that, so last night, for instance, Tony picked a name up in the basement, and two of the people that, like, I guess own Strauss Mansion heard him say, they were like, did he just say Bob? Funny how he just said Bob, but and he said, yeah. I said, yeah, it was Bob, and I was like, yeah, that sounds. I was like, you can tell me, like, I want to know, like, because I've read some of the history, and he told me, and Bob is actually somebody that was a squatter in this house who was living there illegally
Oh, wow.
and actually passed away in the bathroom upstairs.
Wow. And like, that's not in a history book,
Nope.
but that's a
No.
personal thing that they
Yeah.
can tell you.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was kind of cool to validate that while he was in the basement, that like he got that name, and I got to learn based on just reading some history and like how the guy died. I was like, they told me, and I was like, so who is Bob? I said, you can tell me, just don't tell them. I was like, and I told him who not to tell, and he told me, and I'm like, wow, I was reading that in the history that Megan had,
Yeah.
put down in a, words, whatever, and I read, and I'm like, oh, okay, so that's who that is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
And to piggyback off her with that situation, Sierra Dickerson, who you met
Yes.
also, she was under Estes during this entire thing. When I was picking up on Bob, living there in an apartment, died. I didn't know where he died. He didn't tell me where he died. So that was, information gathered.
Right.
But the interesting thing is during this session, she said 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was in the 1980s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So while I'm picking up on Bob and getting this apartment and living there, she picked up on 80s and he liked 80s music and she's getting the information. So there were three different
three validations.
validations.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
putting it out to all of you.
So what do you think your most shocking thing was? What really?
Amber?
Okay,
I'll let you
let
go
me
with
go.
that.
I would love to
Was,
go
like,
first,
shocked.
please. I've been like dying.
And then we'll get to.
Is this
other-
a story that
This is
I
a
stopped
Penhurst
you?
story. Yes.
Okay.
So we will talk more about this because I'm sure everybody. So Tony called me before we went to Penhurst, right, and was like, "Hey, can you bring heels to Penhurst?" And I'm like, "Heels." I was like, "I hope you don't expect me to walk in these all night or nothing." And he's like, "No, I have an experiment." I said, "Okay." So I went along with it. It's Tony. I'm gonna trust him. So anyway, so I brought the heels and he told me what to do the experiment. So I'm walking back and forth in this tunnel at Penhurst.
Rockwell Tunnel.
Rockwell Tunnel, sorry. I
Okay.
couldn't think of the name, right? There's so many different buildings you have to,
I know.
remember.
I
Because it's
cannot
such a big
remember any
place.
of them.
So I'm walking back and forth in these heels, mind you. And the one time that I walked like away from the rest of the members that were, video recording or whatever, and went back down to that area, I felt like I got rushed by, a spirit. And I'm telling you, I swear to you, I saw like a black shadow, and then it was like something was either kicked or like thrown. And we have it like on video, like the sound.
So cool.
And he has validation because he was, my husband was the one following me. Ray was following me with his camera. He has validation that I didn't kick anything, that I did not kick anything. But you can hear me running, that's for sure.
Yeah.
In heels, I
The punk,
ran.
the punk, the punk.
Yeah.
Originally, I thought there was a wooden board down there. I thought that she may have accidentally kicked it.
Uh-huh.
But it was dark, so you can't really see it.
Yeah.
Upon reviewing that evidence,
Nope.
she did not step on it at all.
Nope.
She was still a couple feet away from it.
So it's
Cool.
2 different cameras captured
Got it.
clear as
Captured
day
that.
that she
Yeah.
did not hit
Yeah.
anything.
That's awesome.
So that was definitely an experience I'll never forget. And kind of funny one because I was in heels of all things.
So the history of the heels is several times throughout the years there's been a claim, and I've heard it with my own ears, of a nurse in heels walking through. And if you remember back in the 50s and 60s,
Yes.
nurses did wear,
The
low
lower heels, right? Mhm.
low heel, wedges, and I've heard that sound
Yeah.
when you prompt someone to say, "Help me," or "I'm a new nurse, I'm here for orientation, show me where to go."
Gotcha.
Then you hear the click, clack of like heels
Okay.
coming.
Okay.
So that prompted me to, reach out, to,
Yeah.
hey, let's try this experiment.
Mm-hmm.
I did try to ask another friend of mine to do it, and she was kind of like, I'm a tomboy. I don't,
I don't have heels.
I don't wear heels. I wear, boots. Shout out to Sarah Grimm. Love you. That's my ghost boot. So the opportunity presented itself, and I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, let's try this. Look what we
I
captured.
am so all about experimentation.
Yeah.
Like I want to experiment, and I want time in places where we can see the vibes, see what's going on, and kind of shift our experimentation to that place.
Yeah.
And those places and the people that are there, the spirits that are there.
Research.
Yes.
Third part of our
right,
name.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right.
exactly.
Trial and error, experiments, what works, what don't work. hey, let's check out this cool idea. So that's what the field's about.
Yeah.
Using equipment,
Yep.
coming up with tests.
Just not saying, oh, there's ghosts.
I can
Show me the facts.
I can't tell you what the experiment is, but with the My Haunted Manor project, we have an experiment that we're going to be doing here in the future to try to capture something that continues to be captured with audio evidence there. So we're going to do a large experiment throughout the entire building to try to see if we can isolate whether it's particularly in a certain room or a certain time frame or based on a certain person's voice.
Right.
So that experiment's coming in the
Cool.
That
future.
is good.
Well, we experimented there when we did the music. And we
But
had the
that's true.
sing-along.
Yeah, we did it.
People came up from the basement and they were like, were you guys singing? And yeah, we were singing Amazing Grace in the print shop.
And got activity.
And we got activity for sure.
So I would to get to Ray what his,
Yes.
His profound.
profound experience.
Yeah, what's
great.
your-
They have that on camera, and we literally laugh about it all the time. We'll have to show you at the
So-
end of this.
We were doing a TikTok live at the Old Licking County Jail in Newark, Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
And on the second floor, one of the cells, so we had each chosen our own cell to be into for this session, so that way we could all ask questions from our own cell. The cell that I chose, I went in there and I decided to lay on the bed. And I laid on the bed for a little bit, and then all of a sudden Tony and Brian ran up and chased after a shadow. So I got back up and was standing in the doorway, and all of a sudden there's a loud bang that came right behind me from inside of the jail cell. It was so loud that I could feel the percussion from it.
Huh.
And it shook every single jail cell on that block to where Megan took off her headphones and said, "What was that?"
Megan, let me just interrupt real fast. Megan was in a cell block of her own down at the end of the cell block doing basically a modified S-test with Phasma.
Yeah.
And you could hear at the same time that Ray experienced this,
Yeah.
you can hear audibly a male come through the Phasma say, "Get in there,"
Oh.
in his experience simultaneously.
Ooh.
And you can see this experience right on our YouTube page. The full video,
Thank you.
two different
Good.
camera breakdowns of Megan's Estes session, plus the view of myself in the jail cell.
So the jail cells have walls and then just the opening.
Yeah,
with
so each cell block has 8 jail cells.
Mhm.
So you go down a cell block, there was 8 on each side. So it's 16 total cells, 8 on each side. And it's just a one straight down hallway. You got
Mhm.
8 on the right side, 8 on the left side.
Okay.
And around the
And-
circumference of the cell block is the guard walk. So
And-
they would walk on the outside
But
to
is
look
it
in.
block wall in between cells?
Steel. Concrete and
Concrete
steel.
Concrete and steel. So what made the noise?
I don't know.
It did scare the crap out of him, though.
Trigger warning, he does cuss,
Yes, it does.
which is a natural reaction
Oh,
that I
yeah.
like in ghost hunting.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are planning to go back, and I'm looking forward to redoing that experience.
Okay,
To hopefully
that's
get the
awesome.
same reaction.
Did it sound like metal door slamming?
To
or
me,
the bed like being slammed? Or?
I think it sounded more like something banging on the bed.
Okay.
Like maybe
So
slamming the bed or something like that.
Maybe the spirit got angry because I was laying in
Because
his
you were,
bed.
you were hogging up the space.
Maybe.
So for
Huh.
people that listen to the podcast and for your guys' own opinion,
Yeah.
head on over to our YouTube,
Okay,
listen
we
to
will
it,
listen.
and you be your own judge.
Yes.
We don't want to contaminate to say what we think it is,
Right.
but let you be the judge. But you'll hear, get in there, and then you'll hear this noise. So if you put hand in hand together, it almost sounds like the slamming of a door cell, which is common inside the jail.
Yeah.
Right.
But Ray was in the jail cell doorway, so he has his personal experience and what he sounds because, echoes.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily know exactly
Where the sound
what
came
its
from.
sound was, but we'll let everybody, that's listening, head on over, be your own judge.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
My
That's
plan-
why we put up everything that we get. You figure it out. You
Yeah.
look at and see what you tell them.
Tell us what you think.
Yeah.
My plan for this, the next time, is to set up a camera at the same angle and actually try to recreate the sound
Yeah.
to figure out exactly
Right.
what it was.
Yeah.
Was it the bed or was it a jail cell door closing?
Right.
And you talk about experiments
Yes.
and research.
Yes.
About, I'd say, probably 2 sessions before that, Jess, we spoke of her earlier, her and her husband Brett from Pittsburgh, loved them to death, are photographers. They travel, to our investigations. She came up with the experiment to put everybody in a cell, pretend that there was a guard, which Ray dressed up as the guard, put a hat on, the sheriff, and had a nightstick, and we recreated what a rough, rugged cell block would sound like when the inmates were pissed off. Banging,
Yeah,
yelling,
yeah.
screaming, cursing, get me some blankets, I'm fucking cold.
Yeah.
Like, recreated that for like 15 minutes. Stirred the energy up. Even
Yes.
recreated me coming out of a cell and like pretending that I murdered the guard to like stimulate the environment.
Right.
Lo and behold, 2 sessions later, we get the slamming and get in there.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Interesting.
kind of goes hand in hand with
Absolutely.
an experiment, and it
Yeah.
worked.
Yeah.
So my profound
Yes.
experience,
Waiting for this.
I have many.
I'm sure. you
However, it was at the Manor, and it was before the Manor project took over. It was about 2 years ago. Former teammates, we were packing up. It was 4:30 in the morning. I'll never forget the time. It was 4:31. I climbed up the second floor stairs that you guys were well aware of. And as I started to get to the top of the landing in front of our control room now for the Manor, the white bedroom's on the right,
Yep.
which is now one of the dorm rooms, I heard rustling in there.
Okay.
Now I knew no one was upstairs. I was going to get equipment or do a walkthrough to make sure we didn't leave any equipment. Rookie mistake, I forgot my flashlight downstairs. I had set it down. Now you know Sam Miller, at my on Manor, there's no lights, or there were no lights.
Yeah.
Now, Rowdy and Amy had put in some,
The blue lights.
the blue lights, the minor lights upstairs.
Yeah.
There was no lights. So the shuffling noise, I kind of paused, and I went to turn around to yell downstairs because somebody bring me a flashlight, and this rustling noise was getting closer to the door. So I'm like, is it a critter? Is it somebody that snuck up here and they're gonna, play a prank on me and, jump scare me?
Yeah.
And I'm by the stairs, so I don't want to fall down the stairs. And I turned my attention back, and out this doorway came an elderly woman dressed in like a white nightgown, kind of fluffy, transparent, because as she came out the door, I saw the door jam through her, but I knew it was a woman, and a short statured woman. She was floating out of that room, turned her head the opposite direction towards our control room, so I never saw her face. It was kind of like the side. And as she floated past me, my mouth was wide open. I couldn't yell. And she said, y'all better be going now. Like in a southern drawl, like it's time to get out.
Yeah.
I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
And with that, I focused on where she went. She disappeared in thin air, and out came to yell, Brittany! So I needed a flashlight.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was like, no equipment was on.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we don't have it on camera, but it was a personal experience that, like, Amber had and Ray had. That was profound to me, and I'm still waiting to capture her.
Yeah. No, okay, so that room is the room with all the stuff written on the wall.
Yes.
And then the control room is here at the top of the stairs, and then this room here, Sierra was calling it Mom's room.
So we
Do you think
in
that was
fact,
her?
I think we called it Mrs. Miller's room just for a lack of knowledge of what the room was, and then the room in front of it is now called the baker's room.
Okay.
With the project.
Yeah.
So we're not exactly sure who that was.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been Mrs. Miller. It could have been, now that we know that.
Kind of with this southern accent, though. That's Pennsylvania.
That's
yeah,
interesting.
very interesting. Because was it a servant? Was it,
Right.
a slave? Was it Samuel Shock's wife? Was it some of the Wrights, which are some of the early founders of, Columbia? No one knows.
Yeah.
So that's part of research
Yeah.
and trying to recreate it or ask.
Yeah.
Right.
And I didn't get a chance to talk to her because it all happened so fast and she just disappeared. And we always ask when we go back, who is the woman that came out of the white room? Like, who is that, to try to get an answer.
So do you think that other people would have seen her if she was like that?
Could have. I don't think it was like an empathic site. It was
Okay.
full on like that was
physical.
Yeah, that was physical.
Yeah, that was my kind of question, is how do you know, like, you're not catching, being an empath, you're not catching somebody else's thoughts about
That was
history.
right here.
That was,
Yeah,
but
it was
say,
like
say
two-
Bob,
2
and
feet,
she's
foot?
thinking Bob.
Not even. I'd say a foot and a half. Like
Yeah.
like if she wanted to down the stairs, I would have gone. Like it was that close.
Yeah.
Because that landing there is kind
I
of
put
Yes.
I
a
would have
small
jumped down the
space.
stairs. Like, wait.
Yeah.
I literally, my mouth was open. Like
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, I've been doing this a long time, but Jesus.
So,
yeah.
So-
Because that's something you almost
that
never
is-
see.
Yeah.
that is-
Yeah, big time.
that is something we know that entities are out there, but then we get like, like, oh yeah, I saw one. It's like,
Yeah.
it's shocking still to see them or hear them, even though you know they're there, and it's still kind of like a
Yeah. Well, I think that's your
Kind of-
natural reaction. It's your fight, flight, or
oh, yeah,
freeze.
it's,
You froze.
I did. I've been doing it a long time.
and I guess no matter how much
Seasoned.
you have, right,
Yeah.
many experiences, it's still kind of like a little shock to your system to actually have that
Pop out,
experience,
yeah.
right?
I think if you don't have that, why are you still in the field?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you've already seen something, heard something, or have evidence of something that occurred, and you don't have the interest, or you don't have, this not scareability. You don't have
It's
the
just like a little shock.
the shock response.
Right,
What are
yeah.
What are you even here for? What's your drive? What are you doing? You've
Are
already
you,
found it.
are you
You
trying
have
to?
an answer.
Are you debunking everything? Like, why are you here? Yeah.
I think debunking is very important.
Yes.
And we do
absolutely.
We do that as a team. Not everything is a ghost.
No.
Not everything's paranormal. We look at normal reasons for it, and then when you don't have a normal reason, that's what paranormal means.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys say when in doubt, throw it out.
Absolutely.
I heard that a couple of times on our
That's what-
investigation
we
with
did
you.
that last night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Multiple times last night.
Yeah.
Oh, you think it's this? No, I think it's that. Throw it out. Move on.
Yeah. Well, see, and Sierra was going to do that with her door jiggle in the print shop, but I caught that on audio.
Wow.
So, yeah, like she was like, all right, well, nobody else heard it. And I was like, I have the audio of it and you can hear it. Somebody was messing in a bag, but the bag was nowhere near that door. And then she went over and made the door sound and it was the same thing. So,
And that's one thing that I like about My Haunted Manor and the project that we're working on with Daryl and Jeff and Trey is that we debunk a lot of stuff.
yeah.
And that's what you should do. And there's a recurring theme or piece of evidence that I can't talk about that we've captured a couple times. We originally debunked it and kind of threw it out because of when in doubt. However, that isolated time has now reoccurred
Replicated.
3 separate times since that time.
Yeah.
And we have it on audio.
Yeah.
So you kind of, hey, that piece that we threw out, let's kind of bring that back because now we're hearing this.
Yeah.
So let's try to get to the bottom of that.
I can't wait to find out.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
Thank you for listening. If you have a story you'd like to tell us, please email us at onlyghostsinthebuilding@gmail.com, or you can find us on Instagram at Only Ghosts in the Building or Facebook at Only Ghosts in the Building. We also have a Patreon at patreon.com/onlyghosts-in-the-building, and you can come join for free, or we have a $1 a month tier or a $5 a month tier. Come check us out. We have a lot of good content there. I really enjoy the app and all its capabilities. You can listen, you can watch, and you can read and check out all our content right on there. We have merch for sale at onlyghostinthebuilding.com. There's some really cute stuff, including kids' clothes. Go check that out. Thank you so much. We will see you soon.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.